I've got a timer, so I think we're live.
Just making sure. Welcome to the Jerry White Show. I'm your host, Jerry White. And as promised, I got the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Skyler Ray. Welcome.
There's more myth than there is legend, but
well,
yeah,
I could have used infamous. I know those stories.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those. And the good thing is people never let the truth stand in the way of a good story. So
I've been in the media a long time. Why would we do that? Well, let's be honest.
You gotta have clicks, right? You gotta have viewers.
There's a lot of lore when it comes to your name in general, especially in Cherokee County. Before we get into that, again, Coach Skyler Ray, TC Duck Club, thank you to our sponsors to make this show possible. Tree Man Tree Service, Jared Bogle is the absolute dude. Professional, free estimates. He's so good. 256-393-0127. Garrett Farms, the Helms family, Twin City Used Cars. Now back to Coach Skyler Ray. Man, we go way back, man. I've known about your escapades hanging out with my family, Jameson Wadley, and we won't get in any of those stories, but you're the real deal, guy.
Well, me and Jameson, we've known each other since we were kids out here playing Little League football on the old Babe Ruth baseball field that's no longer there. So I guess we're kind of showing our age, and then our paths kind of crossed again at Jacksonville State, and we probably had more fun than we did football when we were down there, but ended up getting to coach with Jameson at Etowah. Man, that was really good times. Coach Knowles hired me to be the offensive coordinator, and we kind of ran into a buzzsaw with Briarwood and Clay Central, but man, we coached some really good guys, and it just didn't bounce our way a time or two, and those were special times. You know, I talked to you before we went live about Justin Harris, and I couldn't say enough good things, not only about Justin, but his whole family and what Justin's been able to accomplish. And then saw where Emil Smith was Teacher of the Month this month, and really proud of those guys. Jameson Wadley is still a friend of mine. I never really thought about being a coach. And then once I started got done with my basics or whatever, and started doing, coursework, if you will. I was a business major, and I just couldn't see myself wearing a tie every day. As you can tell, I've got on a T-shirt and sweatshirt, but I couldn't. I couldn't be more pleased with my time at Etowah. There was a lot of really influential people in my life that I met while I was there. You being one of them.
Man, you're far too kind. Let's go back and talk about some of the other kids on that team. That was a state championship caliber team. There was some absolute dudes.
It really was, and like I said, we coached some unbelievable talent, just top to bottom. Of course, we didn't pull it off, and there's not many days that go by that I don't think about it. Of course, Fred Yancey at Briarwood and Danny Horn at Clay Central, those are Hall of Fame type coaches, and like I said, I would love to be able to play them again. It's humbling to go back and think about what they were able to accomplish, and us being able to really kind of go under the radar, especially that first year, because we had graduated Nance and the quarterback and several receivers that were seniors before I got there. And then we lost one early in the year. We beat Southside and then lost one to Madison County, and then just went on a tear and kind of took over the region, won the region title, beat Brooks, and then went into the third round. And man, it was just it was a humbling, upsetting, just gut wrenching defeat there
Yeah.
at Briarwood. I don't think anybody expected the score to be what it was, but
Yeah.
we had some costly turnovers and had a chance to put points on the board right before half and didn't. And of course that left a sour taste in our mouth, and we rattled off 12 victories in a row. Had an undefeated season, which is a big thing around AHSAA, and had a ton of talent. But again, we were playing a sophomore quarterback, and at times he played over his head. And we're not using that as an excuse because Brady Troop led us down the field all year, and
Right.
of course Ricky was on that team, and he played in the SEC. And Jamin Graham played at Nebraska, and we had some absolute dudes. But my hat's off to Danny Horn because he won it that year and the year after.
Let's talk about Trent Davis, Nana Davis, Ollie Finch, and it goes on and on, man. Just complete dudes.
Those guys were really young. They were in our middle school program when I first got there, and you could just tell watching those guys at a young age that they were special. And Trent, Ollie, and Nana were just a threat to score anytime they touched it. And it was so awesome to watch those guys go from middle school kids to grown men. And I still say Trent Davis is one of the best running backs I've ever coached, and Ollie's one of the best wide receivers I've ever coached, and Nana, God, he is the fastest guy I've ever coached, and all those guys are such good guys. I still talk to them pretty regular. I'm still in the AHSAA area from time to time, and those guys, they smile and say, "What's up, coach?" So even without a state championship ring, and those guys should have won it
twice.
They should have won it. They should have 2 rings. And Gordo got us. We fumbled with 1 minute and 31 seconds left. We had 2 timeouts, and we fumbled on the 11-yard line on first down.
And that was a sloppy game as far as weather. People forget that.
It was, and we had so many chances. Like Trent Davis got tackled, I think, on the 1 or 2 yard line right before half, and we didn't get any points. And then, we had 2 or 3 turnovers in the first half, and it just seems like we were just snake bit. But at the end of the day, those guys have all, for the most part, grown up and they're successful and they're good human beings. And I feel certain that they're going to be good daddies and good family members and productive members of society. And they've always been so positive and just genuinely good guys. So that kind of makes you proud.
And interesting side note, do you remember who the PA announcer was at Briarwood Christian that night?
I don't know.
I was in the box next.
He didn't have to mention us very much. It was pretty quiet when we had the ball.
Yeah, I was in the booth next to him. It was Rick Burgess. His son played on that team from Rick and Bubba.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was the PA guy.
He's a JSU guy. Go Gamecocks.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, so now let's talk about where you come from. You're kind of known as an old school coach, a fundamental coach. Let's talk about your playing days and some of the people who had a huge impact in your life. Obviously, your father, the most impactful person you've ever been around. But let's talk about coaches as well, other ones.
Yeah, I mean, old school is just a way to say they coached you real tough back then.
Yeah, that's right. My
dad was tough on me, and Lord knows he needed to be, and probably wasn't tough enough at times. But I had a lot of like community coaches growing up: Danny Lee Croy, Terry Law, guys that I spent time with outside of ball, if you will, outside of competition. And my dad and Terry Law helped raise me. And of course, there's countless others: Eddie Miller, Larry Walker. I mean, I hate to start naming people because there's been so many, that kind of made sure that Skyler wasn't being Skyler too much. And,
sure.
It's one of those things. And then Renee Miller was our principal. Matt Miller, who is the principal at the Atala Middle School now. His mother was my middle school principal. And the first day I ever met Coach Curry, me and my best buddy Ryan Law and all of the guys that started for Trip were in ISS, and we did not get off on we did not. I will refrain from saying what we had been put in school suspension for, but
that's great.
We got into a little bit of trouble, and Trip was real quick to let us know that wasn't going to be tolerated. And Matt's brother Will was one of the offensive linemen that played at Georgia Tech, and he's still a good buddy of mine. We graduated together, had a class reunion this year, and Will come in town. It was good to see that guy. But Trip Curry was my high school football coach while I was in school, and during that time, my dad was diagnosed with liver cancer. So it was either Terry Law or Larry Walker or Trip Curry or somebody, at times other than my dad being impactful. And those guys saved my life. And Trip's a big part of that. I played 4 years at quarterback at Cherokee County, and I wouldn't take nothing for it. You talk about being close to winning a state championship. We were 4A my freshman through sophomore year, or freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and then my senior year we dropped down to 3A. And first game of the year we go down to Death Valley and play Alexandria and Will Ginn and all those guys, and we beat Alexandria for the first time since the 80s. And Larry Ginn's a legend. His son Todd's a coach there now, and Todd's doing a great job at Alexandria. But we were able to beat those guys in Alexandria that night. And Chris Finley, who I played with at Jacksonville, he was on that team, and several others. TJ Heath, Chris Evans, they were loaded, and we somehow managed to come out of there with a victory. And that was a good night. And we rattled off a few more wins, and I broke my collarbone, and our running back broke his ankle, and we ended up getting beaten in the dadgum second round of the playoffs. And I'm reminded quite often that if I'd have just pitched the ball instead of being selfish, we would have probably had a pretty special season. But again, Trip Curry is still, I would say, more of a friend now than role model, but I still love Trip to death, and learned a lot from him. I coached for him. We won a state championship in 2009 at Cherokee County, and that was special. My dad was still alive at that time, and there was other than Elias Jennings, I don't know that there's ever been another Warrior fan bigger than Ricky Ray or Elias Jennings, but really, really blessed to be a part of that staff.
Yeah, Coach Ray, man, you talk about a legend. He shop class, agriculture, those kind of things, people still talk about him. Well, he taught me how to plant this flower or grow this or do that. I'm like, that's where you get it, man, because you have a passion for it as well.
Well, I grew up, my grandmother had commercial greenhouses, on our farm, and kind of a side business. And my family is, hustlers. I mean, they're gonna. I mean, we had egg house, old country store. We had, my dad was a teacher. My granddad drove a truck. I mean, you name it. We just tried to make it, and greenhouse is one of those things that, if you're not on the ball field, you're doing something to, you're not sitting in a room soaking up the air conditioner and that kind of stuff. So I spent a lot of time on the ball field, but at the same time in the greenhouse. And my whole family went to Auburn except me, and I wasn't good enough to play at Auburn. So I decided I'd get a PE degree, because that's one of the only things I'm smart enough to teach. Not really sure I could teach algebra, but I can teach you how to dribble. And I taught for a while, and then of course Mr. Bowman and Coach Knowles asked me if I'd be interested in teaching ag and coaching ball, and that's kind of it just kind of fit. And I wasn't real sure how interested the kids were going to be, because you think of Atala or Gadsden, coming from Cherokee County, those are city folks, and those city folks. I found out real quick they're easy to adapt, and they kind of dove right in. And man, I had a good time. I probably had as good a time in the ag shop as I did coaching football, but I had some great ag students who were not football players. And I actually got one of our wide receivers that caught the game-winning touchdown or the go-ahead touchdown at Gunnersville one night. I got him out of the ag class at Austin Young.
Yeah.
He was in ag class. He come walking in there, and everybody's talking about how good a shortstop he was. And I told him, I said, look, you got two options. You can be ineligible for baseball, or you can play football. Your choice. But
you're gonna fail.
I don't know that Mike and Ginger wouldn't have showed up and cut my car tires off if I'd gave Austin a bad grade. But Austin was a good kid. Wilson Farmer. There were so many that come through there. Just there's never a dull moment. Peyton Horton.
Oh yeah.
If you ever been around Peyton Horton, you better be on your toes if you're gonna be anywhere around Peyton, because if you give him an inch, he's gonna take a mile. But it's like having a 55-year-old grown man in the ag shop with you, and a lot of those kids,
sure.
They knew their way around a shop. You can tell that they'd been in the shop with their parents or done yard work and this and that, and we just had such a good time.
From selling flowers and strawberries and all the things you did. My favorite time when I get the text message, steaks are ready. I didn't care where I was coming to grab a steak, dog.
You don't want to be made out to be a liar, and you don't want to crawfish, I guess you'd say. And I was just trying to figure out a way to get people excited. And I told our faculty, if we win, we're going to eat in the ag shop next Friday. Every Friday, if we win, we're gonna call it an interdisciplinary lesson. We're gonna bring everybody over, and we're gonna have we're gonna have some kind of something to eat in the ag shop. Of course, I mean, if you look at me, you can tell I hadn't missed too many meals. But that started, week one while I was there, and we had at some point in time the majority of the faculty and all the administration, people at the board office and bus barn and middle school, and everybody just kind of showed up and kind of hung out for a while during their lunch period or whatever. And I'd get to work, and I brought a grill or a pellet smoker to Etowah when I first got there, and just get there and turn the grill on and go to your morning duty. And then when you get out, have the kids clean up the shop, and lunch is ready by 10:30, 11 o'clock, and everybody just kind of hangs out. And that was really, one, I like to eat, and two, just to kind of get the faculty excited about it or whatever. And we burn a lot of meat while we was down there.
I'll tell you what else I remember is the kids being so excited when you brought the dog course up there and the dog, and you were playing outside. Man, it was just something different, man. It was cool. The kids were excited. Heck, people just walking around the track were excited. Hey, he's got the dog.
And we worked the dog, and of course that was during hunter safety and dove season. Of course we would build shooting houses, and we dug a pond on campus, and we stocked it with fish, and of course we had a big spring greenhouse every year. But one of the things that kind of made headlines, my father was the ag teacher at Cherokee County High School, and we had a hog farm at our house, and he would always clean a hog and process the hog there on campus. And we done that, and man, I'm telling you, those kids had a ball with that. And
when you text me that day, he said, "Hey, why don't you come look what I'm about to do?" I didn't believe it. I think I was in North Carolina. I couldn't get there, but I'm like, you're an idiot. You're a complete idiot. But Atala loved it, man. They
Yeah,
claimed you as their own, and they still do.
you know, I've recently, and I won't tell you, I won't admit how old I am, but I think the gray hairs in this beard are a testament that I'm starting to show my age more than I want to admit. But I had a birthday this week, and I can't tell you how many coworkers and former coworkers, you know, that worked in the lunchroom or at the board office or the bus barn or you know, something to do with Atala. I can't tell you how many of those people I still go hunting with or go fishing with or talk to or run into and, you know, strike up a conversation. I mean, there's so many good people in the town of Atala. And
Yeah, and we could talk about Atala for 3 hours, but I think people want to really get in the meat here. Let's move on. I've got a great question. You guys put your question in the comments. We'll throw it on the screen here. This is from Shannon Wilson. Who do you think will win it all this season in 2A? The reclassification definitely shook things up. Hey, thanks for your question, Shannon Wilson.
Well, I am the defense coordinator at Collinsville, and
Yes, you are.
Miss Shannon. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna vote Collinsville because I am a non-tenured employee of the DeKalb County school system. But all jokes aside, we've got a great run of kids at Collinsville. Coach Ernie Willingham does a great job. That's a special group right now at Collinsville. Hardworking kids. They do what you ask them, and they really want to win. They're competitive, and I think we've got as good a shot as anybody to make a run in the playoffs. Of course, Piedmont is they're in 2A. I would like to do a surprise census at Piedmont and make sure that those numbers match power schools. But
boy,
of course, they do a great job at Piedmont, and they do a great job at Fife as well. Of course, Pisgah will be loaded. It's a tough region that we're in. While I'm there, you know, everybody thinks you know, Benefield's going to retire this and that. I kind of hope he you know, hangs on in there. I don't know. He may have to coach for the next 100 years, so I have a chance to beat him. But he's really took us to the woodshed the last couple of years, and I don't know of anybody who has rode the wave of graduation and injury and move in, move out quite like Benefield has done. And you know, he's as good as there is in small school ball over the length of time that he's been able to do it. And I consider him a mentor and a friend. And if I want to go on record of saying he's a fisherman, and I've got a pretty good place to do it. So if he will somehow take a dive or figure out a way, we just want to win by 1 point. So if I could just beat him by 1 point, I think I could give him written permission to fish at my house.
Hey, let's dive into this. A lot of people are asking this question, and you won't back away from any questions. Let's talk about the high school association yesterday. It came down from executive committee and Heath Harmon that the public and private school split. They're going to do away with 7A football. It's going to be 2 classifications for private and 6 classifications for public. What was your initial take when that? We've heard rumors, but what was your initial take?
You know, it's kind of split. And my answer, of course, I like to ramble and be clear, but you're never going to make everybody happy. I'd like to start by saying that. I mean, you're going to have people on both sides of the fence, and I've never been one to kind of straddle the fence. I will always land on one side or another. And to be as honest as I know how, I'm going to give you an example. In 2008, Terry Curtis and UMS Wright met Cherokee County and Trip Curry in the state championship game at Legion Field. We're 14-0 in the North and just beat Coach Mothershed's Deschler team back when nobody went to Deschler and beat them. And Cody Blanchard and Gabriel Chambers and Caleb Crane and all those guys, they somehow found a way to come back from behind in the second half and beat Deschler. And we're 14-0 in the North, and we beat a Deschler team at Deschler who had Dion Ballou on it, who played at Alabama and then played well. And we got beat 41-0 in a half. I mean, it was a bloodletting. I mean, it was over right after the kickoff. And that UMS Wright team was unbelievable. And we left there I did. I can't speak for anybody else, but I left there as against private schools as anybody in the world. And man, this ain't fair. We got kids from Cherokee County and they got kids from different states, every excuse in the world to make up for the fact that we just got our teeth kicked in. And that, as bad as it was, and as unfair as I still, I could still make an argument with it being unfair because, I could also make an argument that we were a better football team in 08 than we were in 09. However, we left there knowing that we were the second best team in the state.
Okay.
And that Red Mount still a huge accomplishment just to get there and represent your town and your team. But in 2009, the very next year, we go back and we win the 2009 state championship, and we're 15-0. And we're not the private school state champion or the public school state champion. We're just the state champion. That ring says 15-0, and we're the 4A state champion. And, that to me, nobody can, put an asterisk, if you will, beside it. And it's one of those things to me, like if you're going to be the man, you got to beat the man. I get that. And, that's kind of where I make that argument. But at the same time, this has helped us at Collinsville. I think us going down to 2A, of course, it's a tough road to hoe with Fife and Pisgah and Piedmont and Colbert County and, all the teams that come down with us or reclassed with us. But I'm telling you right now, I think we're a shoe-in. You take the small school, private schools out, you can mail us the soccer state championship. I mean, we'll win it the next 175 years in a row. I mean, as long as they're going to have one, I think we'll be competitive. I think it'll help us in baseball. There's some schools that it probably didn't help. But again, what is everybody's quick to blame the Alabama High School Athletic Association or blame private schools or whatever. I mean, everybody can point fingers, but you got to play who they tell you you're going to play. And I've never been important enough to get asked, I guess, until right now. But I really don't have a problem playing. I don't really have a problem playing private schools or public schools. I mean, I don't think it's fair that they can recruit, quote unquote, recruit, and we can't. But like you mentioned the other day on your program, there's a lot more public schools recruiting than people want to admit. I mean,
here's a question. I don't mean to interrupt, Scott. Here's a question by Rita Green Burns. Is that called recruiting in public schools? Yes.
100%. Like, I've had kids that I coach, I know there is recruiting going on in public schools, 110%. And I'm not familiar with Miss Rita. I don't know who Miss Rita is, but she's 100% right. I mean, there's recruiting going on everywhere. I mean, you look at Pete Golding or Goldberg or Ole Miss or whatever. I don't know, Pete, whatever.
Yeah, Pete Golding.
Pete Golding at Ole Miss. I mean, he has obviously done something. Whether I'm not pointing the finger, but he's done something, or at least he's being made to look like he's done something with the kid that transferred to Clemson from Cal. But like I said, I think there's some tampering goes on here, there, and everywhere else, and a lot of it's about winning and wanting to be competitive. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, we're going to play 10 regular season ball games, and we're going to play till we get beat in the playoffs. And I've never been one to really care who it is, one way or another. But I've advocated for the public schools, so I'll advocate for private schools now. I would imagine private schools don't like competitive balance. I've had a conversation with Coach Smith. I really think the world of Coach Smith. He's doing a great job at Westbrook Christian. And the only reason I use him is because I talk to him every once in a while.
Sure.
You know, is competitive balance fair? I'm not qualified to make that call. Is private and public schools playing each other or being split fair? It doesn't really matter to me. If I had it my way, I'd soon play a really well coached team every week that are taught how to tackle and it's going to be competitive, because I've been on both sides. I mentioned the 41-0 blowout. I've been on the other side of 41, 50, 60, our way. It's not a lot of fun, not for the coaches, not for the fans, not for anybody. So hopefully this will let us be competitive. And again, I'm excited about the region. I think it's going to be tough. I think it'll be challenging. But we're in the weight room getting ready to go. So I guess we'll see in August if we've done enough to be successful.
So we have Johnny Green says, nicely said, Coach. George Cantinato says, what's up? Dude, I know you like to cook, man, but Georgie, I'll put his tacos up against anybody in the world.
Well, he's a special guy too. He's got a really good kid, and you're talking
about his daughter, right? Obviously not George.
George is a good kid, and like I said, I enjoyed coaching him, and it really, I'm gonna have fun doing whatever. I mean, I'm sitting here smiling, just looking at all the jerseys hanging up in the background of your office there, and I'm gonna have fun wherever. I mean, it doesn't matter what we're doing. I try to have a good time, but I hope I didn't offend anybody or make anybody mad. But you're never gonna make everybody happy. You're never gonna be able to make it quote unquote fair. But the best thing you can do is just control the variables that you can control, which is your attitude and your effort. And my daddy always told me I was way too dumb to be lazy. So we're gonna work at Collinsville, and I it's a great place, and I think we're going to be competitive. I really do. I know it's going to be a different look for the private schools in the playoffs, but I don't know. I think it's going to be different for everybody for a while.
No, for sure. We can talk public and private school. I don't think this is the show for it. I kind of want to focus more on you. Corey, we'll take any questions that come up. You always answer the questions, and we love that about you. Hey, let's talk a little hunting, little fishing, little TC Duck Club, man. And I'm digging that hat. Speaking of sponsors, look at
that. I've always kind of been outside, whether it's working or hunting or fishing or playing golf or I just like being outside. We've got a really nice home, and I'm in it more than I would like to be. We stay on the road, and we've been really blessed to have a really good friend group, and Drake Waterfowl. You talked about the hat. Drake Waterfowl has been huge with us, are huge for us, and we've been a little bit of here, there, and everywhere. We go to college football tailgates and hand out free Drake swag, and meet people, and it's really opened up a lot of doors for me and the guys in TC Duck Club.
Let's talk about one of these past trips, because I had a little conversation, just a small text conversation with Coach Peavy, and I said, I'm so thankful you made it back alive, and he said it was absolutely touch and go.
Well, it is. Now, Peavy is, he is the, and you mentioned, I'll answer any questions. I'll also just tell you what I think. And
that's a fact.
If you don't like it, then sorry about your luck. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think Scott Peavy is a great human being. He is a leader of men, and I didn't know Scott Peavy from Adam's house cat. And I want to go on record as saying that I think Scott Peavy has been the punching bag at times for unfair and different variables that he inherited and didn't have a part of and couldn't control. But back to the hunting aspect, man, we have had an absolute blast. I think Coach Peavy, I'd known Jack and Coach Peavy, for a while, I guess you would say, through mutual, just acquaintances. But anyway, that's like, man, I saw your stuff last year. That's awesome. If you ever got another seat, let me know. And I said, well, look, I'm going to Idaho next week. So Idaho, yeah. I said, you want to go? And it's like, yeah, we'll go. So we just load up in the truck and drive straight to Salt Lake City, hunt in Salt Lake City, and get in the truck and drive to Idaho. And then we hunted Idaho for 2 days and turned around and drove home. We were here for Christmas Eve, and then we loaded up and drove to Boston, hunted Boston for 2 or 3 days, and then drove to New York, hunted in New York for 2 or 3 days, then drove home. And man, we had a good time. But we've got to see different parts of the country and how people do it, and we've got this big camouflage bus that people are excited about, and they sign the bus, and we'll give them a sticker, a hat, or a discount card, or whatever, and strike up conversations. It's just an awesome way to meet people and network and this and that. But I think a lot of Coach Peavy and Jack and that staff at Etowah.
Hey, let's talk about the incident at the when you guys are trying to get gas. I was told we have to talk about that.
Man, it's just touch and go. We got to, Lord, I don't even know where we're at, Pennsylvania or somewhere. And we pull in, and everybody always comes up because this bus is camouflaged. It's 80 foot long. And my buddy Ryan is driving the bus. And, it's long, and the mirrors are, pretty big. But, you can't really see when you're turning left the tail swing of that trailer. So anyway, Ryan says, get out and go look. And we've been driving all night, and it was snowing and cold, the wind's blowing, and Ryan says, get out and go look. So I look, and I say, yeah, you're good. Come on. And then, I go and look for oncoming traffic, gonna, kind of woe up traffic, so he can pull out and go back towards the interstate. Because there's trees, and the gas station in a terrible spot because it's right in the curve of the road, and I'm trying to kind of give the hoe up on traffic, and Ryan ruined the fender on the boat trailer, and man, a lot of people will be upset with stuff like that, but man, for some reason, I guess the lack of sleep and just seeing the look on his face, because he didn't do it intentionally or whatever, but man, it got all over me, and I started busting out laughing, and everybody in the gas station is kind of looking at us, and of course we had to chain the fender to the concrete barrier around the pump and pull the fender out away from the tire, and then we had to ratchet strap it so where it wouldn't slide back down the I-beam of the trailer and get back onto the tire. And man, we hadn't even loaded the first gun yet, and we've already dismantled the boat trailer.
That's hilarious. But I can't help it, man. It's great. But seeing you and your posse, let's call it, with guns in a boat and the Statue of Liberty in the background, I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, now let's clear it up. We did go to the Statue of Liberty in the duck boat with the ducks, but you can't take a firearm into the city. I think you can if you register it, but we just left the firearms in the truck at the Statue of Liberty. But we did hunt and take the birds to the Statue of Liberty. So yeah, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble, and we did follow all the laws to the best of our ability. And like I said, we've got some buddies up there. So look, you don't want to be taking any guns into the city. So we locked them all up in the gun safe and in the bus, and then drove into the city. But we had such a good time. it was freezing cold. Like when I say
Yeah.
freezing, I mean, we talk about, boy, it's freezing cold to be 50 degrees with, little overcast and the wind blowing here. But, we got up there, it was 7 degrees, a 35-mile-an-hour headwind and 3 or 4 footers. So we're soaking wet and just eating saltwater waves right in the face. And we had a good time, a good trip. Everybody was healthy. And really the only thing that, got tore up was one little old fender. So, that's
great stories though. It's a great story.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty special. We've got a little mini series coming out. We're still in the process of, kind of keeping that close to our vest. We've got, several different episodes and, commercials and this and that. And, of course, we'd like to say thank you to all of our sponsors, and I don't have to go into all that here because
I wish you would. No, please go ahead.
But we've been really, really blessed, just to say the least. And of course, Drake Waterfowl and those guys have been instrumental. And we've got a great partner in CF Moto and Rowdy Coolers and Dimmer Box and Jack Link's Beef Jerky and Beretta USA. And I hate to start mentioning them, Quake Lake Decoys, and none are worth more or more valuable than the other.
Sure.
But we've had so much help from so many different groups, I guess, in the last year that without having them on a list, like Kicks Choke Tubes, they're screwed in every gun we got. So, it's just so hard to start mentioning all the people that's helped. You see Drake Waterfowl, you see CF Moto, but the people that have helped us locally, the people that have helped us on the internet, like Michigan Layout Addicts. I mean, they've been, friends forever, but they went above and beyond to help us out in the last couple of years. And there's so many others, Captain Rod out of Maine and Captain Charlie out of Alaska, and so many other people that's helped us. It's kind of like the chain crew or the people that work in the concession stand. They don't get as much credit as the coaching staff, but if you don't have somebody holding the down marker, it takes a village to raise a kid, and that's kind of what these companies have done for us. They've really made sure we had what we need to be successful and do what we like to do. And I'm still looking for a fender company. So if you know anybody that sells aluminum fenders and U-bolts, I need one of those. But
well, we got a big reach here. My show's pretty new, and we just unbelievable. The past 28 days, 1.3 million views, and you're the first guest to bring on top of that. So I'm winning, baby. I'm absolutely winning.
Well, yeah, and like I said, it's been very, very awesome to try to kind of put it in perspective. We took the 80-foot long bus and boat combo to the up the East Coast and went to Fenway Stadium. And ball and hunting and fishing and the outdoors are a big part of my life, and probably more so than my classroom teachers in high school and college would like for, and elementary would like for me to admit. But I think your target audience and my target audience are pretty similar.
Right.
And I appreciate you having me on the show. I mean, it's awesome. I mentioned to you, I saw Justin Harris on here and so many other guys, and I don't know that I'm really interested unless you like hunting and fishing and football and athletics, but
sure.
Like I said, I really appreciate you having me on, especially on Saturday. And
well, we're going to have a partnership. I think we're going to got some stuff in the works I'm excited about. But before we get you out of here, I can't let you go, man, because I want to talk to you a little bit. And I know you're going to beam up a little bit. Your son is something special. I'm not just saying that. Yes, I hear it from you, as any proud dad would, but I hear it from other people as well. Some even question, are you sure that's Skyler's son?
Well, he is a good kid. First and foremost, I think a lot of people probably just judge him by how competitive, and that would be a PG version of me. Like
Sure.
I've been called a lot of things, but I've never been called a loser. I'm gonna win, and that's me. That's the way I carried myself, and a lot of that dates back to the fact that my dad would take chemotherapy or have 2/3 of his liver taken out or be given 3 months to live and somehow fight through it or whatever. I figure if my dad could go through everything he was going through Sunday through Thursday, then you're fixing to get everything I got on Friday night. And I was okay being the jerk. I was okay being a lot of derogatory names and characterized as quote unquote the bad guy. Somebody's got to be the villain. That's fine, but I'm going to win. I'm going to do everything I can to win, and that's kind of my reputation, I guess. Is I'm way over the top, and I'm guilty as charged. But I think my son would tell you there is a different side to me than probably what you would imagine. Like if he doesn't ask to go out and shoot basketball or throw the baseball or throw a football, we don't do it. I mean, I don't care if he plays ball. I mean, it's not one of those things. I don't care about him because he is, wears a size 12 shoe at 12 years old. And, he can throw a football, as well as anybody around. I mean, he can, and, that's great. But, I don't care if he wants to throw a fishing rod, we throw a fishing rod. If he wants to throw a football, we throw a football. I mean, it's his turn. And, I don't care if he plays it down. I really don't. The only requirement he's got at my house is respect his parents and respect his teachers and just be a good kid. I want him to be a good kid first and foremost, but and he's done that. And he's very respectful, makes good grades, and everything else will take care of itself. If he turns into a football player, great, but he's not going to ever be able to say that he wasn't loved and appreciated and made to act right and do right. I mean, Ryan Ray is going to he's going to be special whatever he decides to do. And like I said, I hope he does, because that'll just give us something to talk about and do together, because I'm a high school football coach and he wants to be a high school football quarterback. But if you don't quit dadgum eating and growing, he may be a high school tight end or offensive lineman or linebacker or something, because golly bum, I may have to take out another job or another mortgage to pay for the food that he eats. I mean,
could you imagine feeding him and Jet Helms?
Whew, man, and Ryan and Jet remind me so much of each other because they're just wide open. You watch the clips that Andrea and Jeff put up of him fielding ground balls, and he never stops. He's just back and forth, back and forth. And it reminds me of Nolan Zoney over there in the Braves dugout. Him and Bobby Cox sitting there, and he's just sitting there rocking. And I'm thinking, man. But yeah, those two boys, they're cut from the same cloth. I can't say enough good things about Andrea. We went to high school together. She's a little older than me, and it's a good family. Good family.
So we're gonna wrap this up, and we'll have you on again. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. How can people reach you? How can they get involved in DC in TC Duck Club? How can they stop by and fish in your pond?
Well, they can get in touch with us about any way. Just pull up Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or Spotify, and type in TC Duck Club and shoot us a message. Of course, I'm the defense coordinator at Collinsville. I've been the same guy since 1987. So I ain't never been hard to find, but we have a good time again doing whatever. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you having us on the show. And I need to get you sized up and get you in a pair of waders and get you out there in Washington State this year. I think we're going to go West Coast this year on our we go East Coast or West Coast, and this year is our West Coast year. So,
hey, next time you're on, though, we got to tell the boxing story, the Tough Man contest story. We're going to tease it, and that's one of the best stories I've ever heard. By the way,
well, that's a unique story, and
only Skyler Ray. That's all I'm saying.
Unfortunately, it's true, and I took more of a beating that night than I did from Fred Yancey or Danny Horn or Fife, either one. That was kind of a wake up call.
That's so good. Again, thank you so much, Coach Skyler Ray, TC Duck Club. Go check them out. A lot of great stuff coming up, man. And thank you so much for giving me part of your Saturday, man. I appreciate your friendship.
Man, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Holler at me sometime.
Yes, sir. Take care. This has been episode Skyler Ray on the Jerry White Show. Hey, thank you so much, brother.
All right, buddy. If you need anything, you know where I'm at.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
All right. See you, buddy. Bye-bye.